Hey, I wanted to make this video because of the time of year that it is and just something that has been kind of rolling around in my head, and a couple of conversations that I've had recently, one with my sister and one with my boyfriend, who are both big fans of Elf on the Shelf. So most people know what Elf on the Shelf is, but basically he's this little elf, little stuffed elf you buy in the store, and you can set him up in your house, and he's supposed to observe your behavior or your good deeds or whatever and report back to Santa, or at least that's the concept that I understand him as. So he's kind of like Santa's helper, I guess. And I have always had a problem with this Elf on the Shelf thing. I don't like him. I think he's kind of creepy. The whole like sort of spying on you concept and reporting back to some kind of authority figure that's supposed to determine whether you're naughty or nice. And this kind of leads into the whole Christmas concept in general. But I realized that there's quite a difference between how I think about things like this and about how a lot of other people think about things like this. So basically, when I am deciding whether I'm going to do something or not, like in this example, Elf on the Shelf, I also consider like the long-term or in-depth concepts surrounding this thing. So for me, I have a problem with Elf on the Shelf because of what I mentioned, the whole sort of, I don't know, like Big Brother kind of theme to it, and in that way some kind of like a manipulation, and maybe I'm using a harsh word for that, but like a manipulation of somebody else's behavior. And the other part of it that I have an issue with is sort of like the overall concept of how we set up expectations and coping skills for our vulnerable people and little children. And so for me, when I think about Christmas and things surrounding Christmas, like Santa and all of that, I really have this aversion to doling out box-made, ready-made joy button type things. And this Elf on the Shelf, for me personally, falls into this kind of category where it's something that you purchase from a store, and these parents set up all kinds of elaborate scenarios with this elf that, gets into the pantry and makes a little mess and, like, I don't know, rides the toilet paper roll or something. He does all kinds of mischievous things in a lot of people's elf scenarios. But for me, it's kind of like manufacturing an external source of joy, manufacturing something external that is provided, to another person just to hit that like joy button. And I mean, I guess there's not something necessarily inherently bad about that, but I think what I have maybe hesitation with and maybe an issue with is that I do think that it is setting up a situation where a child is looking for external sources of joy, for external sources of happiness. And I think that, and not just that, but that it's being provided to them like a golden nugget. And don't get me wrong, I'm no Scrooge. I don't like give my kids coal and stockings and stuff like that. You know, I do allow for space for joy and magic and fun and excitement, but I do also believe that it's very important to encourage individuals to look for their own happiness and to search for that internally. And also, if you need to find external sources of joy and happiness, that is internally motivated. So how I approach this time of year, I find, is very different than other people do. In the role of a parent, I guess I can only speak to that particularly because it is something that I am an INFJ and I am a parent, and I do have thoughts surrounding this time of year. And I encourage my children to find magic and joy in little things. Like waking up and seeing a snow-covered mountain, or like today my daughter woke up and made little love notes for everybody. So she's creating her own sense of happiness and joy, and it's internally motivated. So I don't know. It's just interesting because I reflect back on the elf on the shelf thing, and I question why I kind of reject it entirely, and if it's some insecurity that I have about my parental ability. And I think sometimes it is, but I think it's also, as a philosophy, the commercialization of the holiday season bothers me quite a bit. And it's just funny when I talk to other people about it. It's like, what's the big deal? It's just like fun. It's like Elf on the Shelf is just fun. It's just something that is fun to do, and it makes my kids happy. What's the big deal? Why do you think so much about all of this other stuff surrounding it? Why does it have to be such a loaded issue? But I don't know why, but it just is for me, and I can't surface level it. Like, sometimes I wish I could. Sometimes I wish I could just be like, look, it's just fun because it's fun, and let's just do something fun. But for me, it's just so hard to do that. And I just wondered if other people struggle with this time of year in relation to that, and especially parents that have kids and want to see their children happy and enjoy this time of year, but at the same time want to ensure that there is some sustainability to and resiliency to long-term health, long-term mental health, and the ability to move through times where things are difficult. And I think things are really difficult right now. And I just wonder if maybe, looking for ways to internally motivate yourself for better mental health is the reason why I take this approach to my parenting. And I think I wonder if other people have the same approach, especially INFJs in their parenting, and maybe also just that same approach to the holiday season in general, um, and mental health surrounding the holiday season. So these are just things that have been on my mind, and I hope that it was useful in some way, and I don't know, maybe help resonate with people that struggle with all of these concepts around this time of year. Thanks for listening.